Hi Fibernatics, this is Tori with Feathertail Fiber Arts, and today I'm going to be telling you my top 3 tips for photographing your Fiber Arts products. My first tip for you is when you're taking your photos, always make sure that you take your photos in natural light. This is really important because if you want to show off the colors of your product, that is the absolute best way to do that. Fluorescent lights and LED lights don't really show off the colors as truthfully, and you're already going to be working against people looking at your products through their computer screen, which may have different color balances and things like that. So you want to make it as simple as possible so that the true colors of your product shine through and that your buyer isn't wondering what they got when they receive your product. I usually take my product photos outside in the brightest part of the day without direct sun shining on them. So I usually take my pictures outside. However, if you don't have that option, one thing that you can do is you can buy a backdrop or a gray board from a craft store and use that as the backdrop for your pictures and put it right in front of a window where a lot of natural light is coming through to make sure that you're still getting those colors. Tip number 2, you really want to make sure that your photographs are taken on a background that does not detract from your product. Make sure that whatever background you're using, make sure that it's a neutral color like white or gray, and that it allows your product to shine so it's not detracting from what you're trying to sell. My third tip is that you need to make sure you're taking several different photos of your product. Don't just take one close-up photo and call it good, because you don't want them to be guessing and hoping that it actually turns out to kind of look like the photos. I will include a video clip of me taking pictures of this exact product after this last tip. I make sure that I showcase all of the fibers in a close-up, and then I also do one from a little farther back so they can kind of get a better idea of the amount of fiber they're getting. You can always break it out and do individual photos of each fiber type if that's helpful. Definitely make sure that you at least put the staple length in the description, and if you can, take a photo of the staple length of the fiber as well, because that's even more helpful. When you're photographing something like a fiber bat, make sure that you give some really good photos of the bat rolled up and make it look really pretty and cinnamon bun-esque, but then make sure you also do a photo of the bat kind of spread out a little bit more so they can see how the colors look when the bat is opened up. So now I'm going to include a couple video clips from my photographing of a couple of these products so you can get a better idea of how I actually photograph them. Now, as I'm photographing these, you'll notice that I'm going outside so I have really good natural light. And the other thing that I'm paying attention to is I like to have a kind of a neutral background, whether that's gray or white. Those really help the colors pop in the products that I am photographing. Gray especially is a really good color for this because it draws out the color of your product even a little bit more than white will. White tends to wash it out a little bit. So I'm going to take a photo like this, and I try to make sure that every component of what I am photographing is very easy to view. Make sure that it's a good representation of the colors. So I'm going to make sure that a little bit of this lighter section is showing. And then I will also take a closer in photograph so everybody can get a really good close-up view of the individual fibers. They can see the definition in the locks a little bit better. So that gives them a couple different options of different views on the fibers. If I want to, I can individually pull out the different elements of the different fibers and photograph those. Typically in the smaller arrangements I don't do that as much, but that's definitely something you can do. And I always take several different pictures of the bats. I like to roll them up like this so that they look nice and squishy and it's kind of a good way to show them off. And there's a pretty easy way to do that, which I will show you guys in just a minute. But I always take a couple pictures of like me holding it, and you can see like this has a really nice way of showing off the bat. And then I always put it down and take a couple of photos of the bat kind of rolled out like this. Okay, excuse the Minnesota snow included in this tutorial. Okay, so the way that I roll this up to give it a really nice pudgy, fluffy look is I lay it out with the side that I want showing facing down. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and, especially for a gradient, you wanna make sure that you are rolling the not smooth edges in. So I'm going to roll this edge in, roll this edge in, and then slowly roll from the end. And I've got this really awesome little fluffy looking fiber bat to photograph. So if I roll it from the smooth edges in, it's going to show the color differently. You'll notice right away that two of my colors are getting folded into the middle, so they're not going to show up as well. And if I roll this up, as you can see, it's beautiful and it shows off the single colors, but not so much the ones on the inside. So that's just something to be aware of, is how you want the colors to show up on your listing. Thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day. If you haven't already signed up for our email list, go to feathertailfiberarts.com and get on that, because we spoil our fiber VIPs like crazy. You guys get discounts and giveaways, and you get to see the sales before everybody else does. It's just, you definitely want to be there.